What's up, everybody? This is Kieran Reese, otherwise known as the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer at the O.C.G, and I'm having a consistently great time playing Elden Ring. Honestly, one of the greatest games I've ever played, and yet I just keep seeing people saying the graphics are shit, and then inevitably comparing it to Demon's Souls. And I'm here to definitively put that argument to rest and state why you shouldn't compare Demon's Souls to Elden Ring graphically, and why it's actually not even a fair comparison. But before I do that, let me just say my channel's doing great. Hit 100k views, then 120k views, but my subscribers are kind of low. So if you could like and subscribe, I would really appreciate that. I'm on that grind, on that hustle, trying to get into it. Now, with that being said, let's get into this. Now, one thing I want to make very clear before I get into this at all. I love the Demon's Souls remake. I love Demon's Souls. It's a classic that I will cherish until the day that I die. And I think that it's a crime that more Souls fans haven't played it. And this is in no way attacking Demon's Souls. The remake exceeded my expectations, which were already pretty high. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Demon's Souls remake is fucking gorgeous. Beautiful textures, sterling atmosphere that manages to improve upon the foundations of the original game without ruining the aesthetic. It's gorgeous. I don't think anyone can say that Demon's Souls looks anything other than amazing. And then you have, just brilliant fire effects, if you can appreciate them while your nuts are getting roasted. Running at a slick frame rate. You have, wonderful grass and foliage. And you have an absolutely phenomenal draw distance that is effectively used to convey a sense of place and atmosphere. On top of that, you have a ton of environmental variety. You have the austere palace of Boletaria. You have the warm desert glow of the smithing tunnels in the mining city. The haunting prison of hope. Sick prison. And the Tower of Latria itself, which is, in my personal opinion, not only one of the greatest Souls levels, but one of the greatest levels of all time. I actually made a video about it, and why I love it, lore-wise, gameplay-wise. You should check that out, shilling for myself. But it's gorgeous. Looming Gothic architecture. Billowing flags and cloth. Wonderful draw distance. It's unbelievably gorgeous. And for a launch game, damn. Even the rain effects from the Shrine of Storms are beautiful. And cascade with billowing flame. So, all of this to say that this is an amazing looking game. Hell, even the character models are absolutely outstanding. You have all these options, hair that looks like it's individually rendered, scars that look fully detailed and textured on the character models. An exhaustive list of options. So Demon's Souls looks amazing. I get it. It looks incredible. It really was a showstopper, especially for PS5. As Miles Morales was great, but it was still a PS4 game at heart. And then you see Elden Ring, which comes out almost 2 years later, and compared to Demon's Souls remake, doesn't look as good. But that's the thing. It's not fair to expect it to look as good, and here is why. Number one, Elden Ring is very much a last-gen title. Demon's Souls was fully made for PS5 and PS5 only. It was able to completely use the specs and not be held back by last-gen. Elden Ring started development in 2016. And is very much a PS4 and Xbox One game that got some next-gen enhancements at the tail end. And if you can't see why comparing a last-gen game to a fully next-gen game isn't fair, already I don't know what to tell you. And it's hard for me to make that point any clearer. But there is more than just that example. Take lighting. Demon Souls has amazing lighting. You have the blue light wafting up from the water, the red light from the torches, softly creating mood and atmosphere. It's one of the things that makes the Shrine of Storms so fucking awesome. You have beautiful light coming from the water here and creating reflections on the cave walls. And even the lighting in the Valley of Defilement is pretty, quote-unquote, it's a nasty area, but still. Not taking into account the vast differential in hardware power between Elden Ring and Demon Souls, being a last-gen game to a true next-gen game, there's a key fact. No matter how long you stay and look at someplace, the lights will never change. They are static. It's much easier to have one time of lighting, one time of day, and keep that in place than to do what Elden Ring does and have a dynamic day and night system. Elden Ring can't just make the lights look pretty in one condition. They have a full day-night cycle, and they have to constantly make sure that the lights look good in all conditions throughout a full 24-hour cycle. That is way harder than making just static lighting, especially when they even have to implement weather. Lighting is different in fog and rain and all of those things. In fact, you can even see the lighting in Elden Ring move in real time due to the fact that it has an accelerated day and night cycle. It's not easy to do. So there's that. But hey, I can show you an era where Elden Ring is unequivocally better graphically than Demon Souls. Water and water physics. The water in Demon Souls is a little bit reactive, not that much, and even other games like Witcher 3 did it better. Water doesn't really react that much when you move through it. Now Elden Ring, on the other hand, Elden Ring has very visually pleasing water that fully reacts to the motions you make, and reacts differently. It reacts differently when you swing a weapon, and reacts differently depending on the attacks you make, reacts differently if you roll into it, and if you jump into it, and even enemies like heavy crabs make special splash animations. The water in Elden Ring is really nice, and it's leaps and bounds above Demon Souls despite having way bigger bodies of water. So there you go, that's one equivocally better thing. And then there's another thing you have to take into account. Budget. People seem to think that these Souls games have a massive budget. They really don't. FromSoft and Bandai Namco, at best, are AA developers. And I think they said before that they actually make Souls games for pretty cheap, relatively speaking. Now, Demon Souls Remake, on the other hand, was directly funded by Sony, the highest grossing game developer in the world. No joke, highest grossing game developer in the world. And it was a launch game for PS5. And of the two big launch games that Sony had, Miles Morales and Demon Souls Remake, Demon Souls was the only one that was a true next-gen exclusive. There was a lot riding on that. They wanted something that showcased the technology. So if you don't think that Sony put a fuck ton of money behind the Demon Souls Remake, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to say they had like 10 times the budget to work with. So, once again, not really fair. That's like expecting an indie company to compete with big AAA devs. Obviously, it's not that, much of a disparity, but it's a pretty big wage gap. Now, a fair place where you could make a comparison that I would totally agree with is in performance. Elden Ring on next gen is not quite where it needs to be. You have a prioritized quality mode, which is mostly around 30, never under, but has an uncapped frame rate, so it's all over the place. And then you have prioritized frame rate, which can never ever hit a solid 60. That actually is kind of rough. Whereas Demon Souls Remake has two perfect modes. You have Cinematic, which is native 4K 30, perfectly locked. Like, the Digital Foundry couldn't find any drops. And then you have Performance Mode, which is 60 FPS 1440p. And almost perfect. Almost no dips whatsoever, and they're like a couple seconds. Absolutely awesome. So that is a really fair comparison. And more than fair, actually, because as a mostly last-gen game, Elden Ring is nowhere near as technically demanding, so it shouldn't have any problems running locked. That being said, FromSoft and Namco Bandai or whatever they're calling themselves, have stated, clear as day, that improving performance is their number one priority, and they've already made steps towards it. So that could very well change. But yeah, that is a fair comparison, and one that is way more worth talking about than the whole, it doesn't look as good as Demon Souls thing. And the sad thing about this whole comparison is that it actually kind of disrespects Bluepoint. The team at Bluepoint didn't just remake this game, Demon Souls, because they had to. They wanted to. After Shadow of the Colossus remake did so well, critically and commercially, they were given the keys to remake pretty much any Sony-owned property. They chose Demon Souls because Gavin Moore, the director, or former director of Bluepoint, it was one of his favorite games. They absolutely adored it, and they actually made sure to get the FromSoft's director's approval, Miyazaki. Before they did anything, they would not have made the game. And the fact that Demon Souls is being used to disparage Elden Ring would honestly, and probably is, making the Bluepoint devs sad. It's just kind of shitty. And at the end of the day, there is such a thing as graphics are not the end-all be-all. Elden Ring is amazing. Elden Ring's world and world design is a tour de force for any sandbox game. It is possibly the single most dense and detailed world I've ever seen in any game ever. There is something in every single corner of this world. Every single corner has something enticing that keeps you going. It is a fucking feat of world design, and the fact that so many people just look past this and the graphics aren't that good hurts. Elden Ring is something that I think all games could learn from, and it honestly makes me sad that more people don't see it. So those are just my thoughts on it, and I'd love to hear yours. Thank you for watching. Please, once again, like, comment, subscribe. I need those subs, bro. And this is Kieran Reese, the O.C.G, the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and I am out. Peace!